Okay, back to Wonderly here. So you guys officially kicked Wonderly off in 2022, right?
Yes.
When did you know you were onto something big with this? Because you've had tremendous success in here in these 3 years.
Yeah, I think, we felt very comfortable with our conversion franchisees. We saw what they had done, and they had varying levels of experience from 1 to 10 years. We knew there was a market there. And then once we were able to, recruit some of these other seasonal business owners who, the beauty of what we did is these individuals by and large already knew franchising. So there wasn't a big kind of sell, if you will, or a need to sell. It was more, hey, here's the opportunity. We're putting the systems in place. You have the chance to get in on the ground level. What people do like, there are people who like to be, if you're franchisee number 25, Wonderly Lights, your ability to influence the system and or develop relationships are probably a lot stronger than if you're franchisee 1500 with, pick your, I'm not going to, malign anybody, but obviously when a system gets bigger, it's less of a family of franchise owners. So I think that's part of what has driven our growth.
Sure. What do you think really has helped a franchise owner being part of a platform where they don't feel like they're alone or just, whether they're part of just Wonderly, but you guys have allowed something that is so scalable that you've proven yourself with other models. So talk about that a little bit, if you would.
Sure. I think, so to tie back to what I just said, I think our franchisees feel like there's a lot of camaraderie and support from within the franchise owner network. And then I think there's a lot of credibility with kind of the Buzz team. We haven't recreated the wheel here. We're a multi-brand franchising entity. So each brand has its own independent operating team. But behind that, or whether you want to think about it, underneath that, the foundation, there's a lot of shared services support that Buzz brings with a lot of experience. So that's, we would say we like to call like our mini agency. We have a really robust marketing team led by our CMO, Angela Paul. So we bring a digital marketing team, a creative design team, a direct mail team. They support all the brands and they're able to share learnings. They're able to optimize performance and help owners figure out the marketing requirements and needs in their community or in their community. And then we have an analytics team. So we share a robust set of analytics with all our franchise owners. And it's very much a crowdsourcing opportunity, right? What do I mean by that? Franchise owner calls in, says, hey, Edward, I need to look at my data this way. Is that something you can help me with? Sure, give me a day. Let me work through the algorithms, generate a report for the owner. Owner loves it. We look at it and go, everybody might like that, actually. We should probably share that across the system. And so they're getting that kind of analytic support. And then, again, not unique in this sense, but we have a good training and onboarding team that works across our home services brands. They're very adept at taking a new owner who's maybe never been in small business and walking him through those critical first 3 or 4 months. A lot of it's checklist type stuff, setting up the right banking accounts, getting your insurance, getting your IT system set up. But it's very comforting to an owner, right? Like to get through that initial process of what they would have to do on their own as an independent, get through that quickly. Now let's start worrying about growing the business and not about getting you set up.
Sure. I realized it was a bit of a loaded question, I guess, but my thoughts were about for these potential franchise owners to realize they're not really in the light. It's more than just the lighting business. Because it's really not about lights.
That's very true. I mean, it's about being on a small business ownership journey. It's about, what are their dreams? One of our things, we do all our meet the team days in person, and not all of them in person, but all of them on a one-on-one basis, I should say. So, whereas some people like to do them in big groups, we bring the owner in. We want to understand, what's their real motivation? Always a financial component. People want to make money. They don't get into business not to make money. But there might be some other motivation. We want to understand that journey. We want them to make sure they know they're part of a team here and a family of owners. And that's why I think we get a lot of, rave reviews when it comes to our support, our accessibility, things we do convention-wise, et cetera, that really makes that journey for them enjoyable, challenging, of course. There's always challenges in business, but they feel well supported and they feel like there's a lot of opportunity.
There are always challenges. I'm sure kicking this off couldn't have been super easy. And I'm curious if you'd be willing to be so transparent as to share with us maybe when you guys first started, maybe what was something you learned that you decided, man, if I can go back and do this differently, I would.
Oh, there's probably any number of things. Let me think of one or two that might be meaningful. I mean, look, we've definitely had our stumbles, right? So
we always do.
three that would come to mind is I wouldn't say we got the IT systems nailed right out of the gate. We tried to make some decisions based on other field management softwares we were familiar with. We went down one path. We had to make a pivot to another path. And so we did that, what we started with in 2022, we were switching in 2024. That causes a little bit of churn, a lot of work on the corporate team, and we powered through that. I think we've learned it's tough to go into the product sourcing business if you haven't done it at scale before. We definitely learned a little bit sourcing product directly from, in this case, China, trying to match colors and get the right quality versus price point on, greenery and lights. Again, lessons learned. We had to start somewhere. We were in it to win it. So we made a decision. We moved forward, and we had to do a couple of pivots there. So it's things like that you can't be afraid to make mistakes and stumble. You got to own them, move on, and get better.
We only learn from our mistakes, right? And we never learn from our successes.
It's a lot easier to learn from a mistake. If you've always been successful, you tend to feel like you're impregnable. It's not.
Right. All right. So we've got 38 franchises total, right? In 14.
So owners, we have 24 owners, 40 locations. So a number of them are multi-location owners. Yep. And then we run a corporate business here.
Okay.
And 15 states. Yeah.
Well, the fact that you've got multi-unit franchise owners means something's going right.
Yes, that's always, not only when they buy multiple locations, when they come back and want to buy more, that's usually a good sign that they like the model and they like the support. I wouldn't hang your hat on that happening if you're an emerging franchisor out there.
Right.
But it is something we look at across all our brands. When people come back to you within a year, 2 years, 3 years and say, hey, is that territory down the road still available? I'd love to get my hands on it. That's a good feeling.
Are there certain markets that you're really excited about expanding to right now?
We've got a real good nucleus in the Northeast, so that's pretty exciting to us. We've got a few candidates that are looking at adding territories up there, so that would be kind of a good nucleus, good location. Excited about the Texas market, have a few interested candidates down there. I think those are probably the two. The Southeast, for whatever reason, maybe because I would consider us right on the edge of the Southeast in Virginia Beach. We tend across all our brands to have really good presence in kind of the Carolinas down to Northern Florida. That's true in Wonderly Lights as well, and we see more opportunity there. So there's been some strong interest there.
Okay. Well, I mean, there's about 4,000 franchise brands that are out there. What do you think is attracting folks to Wonderly versus other opportunities that are out there?
Yeah, I think it's probably two things. I think this is a proven industry. So, there's always some degree of comfort in knowing that there's competition out there. You shouldn't be afraid of competition. It kind of proves that the market exists, right?
Agree, 100%.
Right. So there is that. But there's also, I think, a lot of fragmentation in the industry. So, the franchise concept screams or should scream, hey, more professionalism, more of a button-up process, whether it's on the marketing side, the system side, the customer experience. So you should feel as an owner or potential owner very comfortable competing with independents. And then I think the explosion of interest in permanent lights is fueling more excitement around this industry. This industry's landscape lighting's been around forever, right? But I think the two dynamics we like on the holiday lighting side is population's getting older. People still like to decorate their homes. They don't necessarily want to deal with it themselves. So maybe a drop in the do-it-yourself interest. And for the right price point, the idea of somebody shows up, they install the lights, they service the lights throughout the holidays. If a nor'easter or a hurricane or whatever rolls through, then they take the lights down and store them for me. There's something compelling about that. And they look super professional, right? So that's a really good growth dynamic. And then the other one is the permanent lighting. So permanent lighting, for your audience, in case they're not familiar, think about that as LED lights that are permanently mounted on the house, typically along the gutter or the fascia. Controllable via app. You can get through multiple light sequences. So you can, they can be used for the holidays. They can also be used for the 4th of July and everything in between. And that's just become very popular. And so we really like that interest. We want to catch that wave. And then the architectural landscape lighting business has been around forever. That's a key component of the real estate market. Everybody says it adds value, creates additional outdoor lighting, livable space, I should say, for the homeowner. So I think we're excited to move in that direction.
Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fumey, or Emerging Franchise Group LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.